Thursday evenings were usually quiet in our house. I liked to read after work, letting the words on the page drown out the noise of the world. That evening, however, the atmosphere shifted the moment my wife, Emily, walked into the living room. She carried a certain energy with her, an uneasy mixture of excitement and hesitation. I knew that look well. It usually meant she had something to say but wasn't sure how I'd take it. She sat down beside me on the couch, phone in hand, pretending to scroll. Her fingers moved across the screen, but I could tell she wasn't really reading anything. She was stalling. I set my book aside and waited. So, she began, her voice overly casual. "Amanda's throwing a little party this Saturday night. Just a few friends, nothing crazy." The second she mentioned Amanda, a knot formed in my chest. Amanda wasn't just Emily's best friend, she was also the type of person who thrived on drama and chaos. Every gathering she hosted ended up being bigger, wilder, and messier than promised. I'd learned to tolerate her antics for Emily's sake, but deep down, I'd never trusted her judgment. "I don't know, Em," I said carefully. "You know how I feel about Amanda's parties. They're never as small as she claims." Emily rolled her eyes and gave me a dismissive laugh, the kind she used whenever she thought I was being overly cautious. "Ryan, come on. It's just a gathering. We're not in college anymore. Amanda's grown up." I wanted to believe her, but she avoided my gaze as she said it. Something in her tone didn't sit right with me. "If it's just a small gathering," I pressed gently, "why does she need you there specifically? Why not just hang out with her other friends?" Emily's voice sharpened. "She asked me to come, okay? You're making a big deal out of nothing." I let it drop. I didn't want to be the controlling husband, the one who second-guessed his wife's choices. But my instincts told me something was off. I pushed the thought aside, convincing myself I was overreacting. Initial signs of suspicion and emotional tension, here red flags are introduced: Emily's evasive behavior, her overly casual tone, and avoidance of eye contact. This establishes the husband's intuition and hints at hidden deception, building tension in the relationship. Saturday arrived, and with it, a version of Emily I hadn't seen in a long time. She went all out getting ready, more than she ever had for just a few friends. She wore a black dress that clung to her figure in a way that made my breath catch. The heels added height and elegance, and when she sprayed on the perfume I'd bought her years ago, the one she hadn't touched in ages, my stomach twisted. "You look stunning," I said, genuinely meaning it, though unease laced my words. "Thanks," she replied without warmth, barely glancing at me as she adjusted her earrings. It was strange. Normally when she dressed up, we shared playful banter. That night, there was nothing. Just distance. She grabbed her purse and keys, then paused at the door. "Don't wait up. It might go late." That was my first real warning sign. Emily always came home early from Amanda's parties, claiming they were boring or repetitive. This time, she seemed almost eager. I forced a smile and nodded, though my gut screamed otherwise. When the door clicked shut, the silence that followed was suffocating. I tried distracting myself with the game on TV, but my mind kept drifting back to her. The way she looked at me before leaving, like I was an afterthought. She hadn't even asked if I wanted to come, which was unusual. Normally she extended the courtesy, even knowing I'd decline. As the hours passed, unease grew heavier. I checked my phone repeatedly, half expecting a text or photo from her with Amanda and the others. Nothing came. By midnight, I was pacing. I told myself I was paranoid, that she was just having fun. But deep down, a voice whispered that something was wrong. Eventually, I went to bed, but the sheets on her side remained cold. Staring at the ceiling, I replayed our earlier conversation, analyzing every word. Was I overthinking? Projecting insecurities? Or was I right all along? Morning came, and her side of the bed was still untouched. My heart pounded as I walked through the house, hoping to find her asleep on the couch or in the guest room. Nothing. Her car wasn't in the driveway. No missed calls, no messages. panic began to set in. Emily was always good about checking in. Even if she stayed out late, she sent a quick text. But now? Silence. I grabbed my phone and called her. Straight to voicemail. Next, I called Amanda. After a few rings, she picked up. Hey, Amanda, I said, trying to sound calm. Is Emily still with you? There was a pause, just long enough to send a chill down my spine. No, she left hours ago, Amanda said, her tone defensive. Why? Is everything okay? She didn't come home, I replied. The words tasted bitter. Well, maybe she just needed some time to herself, Amanda suggested, but her voice lacked conviction. It felt rehearsed, forced. I thanked her and hung up, but the knot in my stomach tightened. Something wasn't adding up. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. Something had happened. And I wasn't ready for the truth that was waiting on the other side. The hours after that phone call with Amanda stretched endlessly. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my silent phone, willing it to ring. Maybe Emily would call with some silly explanation, a dead battery, a last-minute decision to stay with a friend, anything. But deep down, I knew this wasn't normal. Emily had never gone radio silent like this before. By 10 a.m., I couldn't sit still. My stomach churned with restless energy, so I busied myself tidying the house, anything to keep my hands moving. That's when I noticed something odd. Her work bag sat by the door. Normally, she never left without it. Her purse was gone, but the bag was still here. A small detail, maybe, but it felt significant, like a missing puzzle piece I didn't yet know how to fit. I tried calling again. Straight to voicemail. Again. And again. I left a message this time, my voice shaking despite my efforts to sound calm. Emily, it's me. I'm starting to get worried. Please call me back when you get this. With no reply, I grabbed my car keys. Sitting at home waiting wasn't an option. Amanda's house was my first stop. As I pulled up to the curb, I spotted her sitting on the porch with a mug of coffee. She waved when she saw me, but her expression was guarded, almost tense, like she'd been expecting me. Hey, she said, setting her mug down. Any word from Emily? No, I replied bluntly. That's why I'm here. Are you sure she left last night? Amanda hesitated. Her eyes darted down to her hands, fidgeting. Yeah. Around midnight. She said she was heading home. Alone? I pressed. Yes, Amanda said quickly, too quickly. Look, Ryan, I don't want to get in the middle of anything. I'm sure she's fine. Just wait for her to call, okay? Her words rang hollow. She wouldn't meet my eyes. It was like she was rehearsing lines from a script, and it only fueled my suspicion. I left without saying much, but as I drove away, the thought clawed at me that Amanda knew more than she was telling. Back at home, I sat on the couch, my mind racing. If Emily wasn't with Amanda, and she hadn't come home, then where was she? That's when it hit me. Emily had mentioned another name the night she left, a guy I barely knew but remembered from Amanda's gatherings. Derek. He was tall, confident, always too charming for his own good. I had brushed off his flirty banter with Emily before, convincing myself it was harmless. But now, it gnawed at me. I found his number in my phone. Emily had added it months ago after a group outing. My hands trembled as I hit call. It rang a few times before Derek answered, his voice groggy. Hello? Derek, it's Ryan, I said, trying to steady my tone. Was Emily with you last night? There was a pause long enough to confirm my worst fears. No, man. I haven't seen her since the party. Since the party? My voice rose. So she was with you? Well, yeah, Derek admitted reluctantly, but only at Amanda's. She left right after. I swear. I hung up before he could say anything else. My chest tightened. My mind was spinning. Emily had lied. She told me it was just a small gathering with Amanda. But Derek had been there too. Why hadn't she told me? What was she hiding? And why was everyone so quick to brush me off? I needed answers. I wasn't going to sit helpless while my wife disappeared into the night. Her laptop was my first thought, but it was password protected with a code I didn't know. Frustrated, I turned to our shared desktop. She was still signed into her email there. Nothing unusual. Work correspondence. Promotions. Spam. I opened her social media accounts, scrolling through notifications, desperate for something, anything. That's when I found it. A private message from Amanda, sent just hours before the party. Don't worry. He won't find out. Just be careful. My heart sank. My vision blurred as the words seared into me. Was this about me? About covering for Emily? The puzzle pieces were beginning to form a picture I didn't want to see. When Emily finally returned late that night, the sound of her car in the driveway jolted me upright. I stood near the window, watching her step out. She moved cautiously, like she knew what awaited her inside. She had changed clothes. No more sleek black dress. Now just jeans and a sweater. But her face betrayed her. Exhaustion. Guilt. When she opened the door, I sat on the couch pretending to watch TV. She froze in the doorway, clearly surprised to see me still awake. "Hey," she said softly, setting her purse on the counter. "You're up late." I muted the TV and turned to face her. "Where were you?" Her eyes widened for a split second before she regained composure. "I told you. At Amanda's party." "Really?" My tone was sharper than intended. "Because Amanda said you left hours ago." The color drained from her face. She forced a laugh. "I went for a drive after. I just needed some time to think." "To think?" I stood. "Emily, you didn't come home. You ignored my calls. Do you have any idea how worried I was?" "I'm sorry," she said quickly, her voice trembling. "I should have called. I wasn't in the right headspace." "Headspace for what?" I demanded, stepping closer. "What's going on? Don't lie to me." "I talked to Amanda. I talked to Derek. Nothing adds up." Her eyes darted to the floor. She bit her lip, a nervous habit I knew all too well. "Ryan, you're overthinking this. There's nothing going on." "Then why," I said, pulling out my phone, "did Amanda send you a message that said, 'Don't worry, he won't find out'? What am I not supposed to find out, Emily?" Her face went white. She opened her mouth, searching for words, but none came. Finally, she whispered, "It's not what you think." "Then explain," I pressed, my voice cold. "Because right now it looks like you've been lying to me. And I'm giving you one chance to come clean." Her hands trembled. She clutched the back of a chair like it was the only thing holding her up. "Ryan, I didn't want to tell you because I knew you'd be upset. But Amanda was just trying to cover for me. I wasn't with Derek. I swear. If not him, then who?" I shot back. "Because I don't believe for a second you were just driving around." Her silence was louder than any excuse. And in that moment, I realized, whatever she was hiding, it was big enough to make her lie straight to my face. The silence between us that night stretched like a canyon. Emily stood in the doorway to the kitchen, her face pale, her body tense, as though she were deciding whether to fight or flee. I had given her an opening to explain, to tell me the truth, but she had chosen silence instead. That silence spoke volumes. I didn't push her further. Not right then. Instead, I turned and walked upstairs without another word. I heard her sigh, half relief, half exhaustion, but I didn't care. I was done begging for scraps of honesty. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling again, the same way I had the night before. Only this time, my chest burned with anger instead of worry. Betrayal had a taste to it, bitter, metallic, heavy. I hated that I recognized it now. The following morning, Emily acted as though nothing had happened. She brewed coffee, hummed to herself, and scrolled through her phone at the kitchen counter. She smiled at me when I walked in, her expression forced, like a mask she hoped would hide the truth. "Morning," she said brightly. Too brightly. "Morning," I muttered, taking my seat at the table. She slid a mug toward me. "I was thinking we could go out tonight. Maybe dinner? Just the two of us. We haven't done that in a while." Her attempt at normalcy was almost insulting. Did she really think I would forget the unanswered calls, the missing hours, the cryptic messages? "I'm busy tonight," I said flatly. Her smile faltered. She studied me for a moment, then looked back at her phone, her thumb scrolling rapidly. And that's when it clicked. If she wouldn't give me answers, maybe her phone would. Later that day, when Emily stepped into the shower, I seized my chance. Her phone sat on the counter charging, the screen dark. My pulse pounded as I picked it up, praying she hadn't changed her passcode. She hadn't. The device unlocked easily, and I opened her messages. At first, everything looked normal, mundane conversations with co-workers, group chats with family. But then, near the top of her recent texts, I saw a name I didn't recognize, Zach. My hands trembled as I tapped the thread. The screen filled with words that made my stomach churn. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about you. Wish we could be together without all the sneaking around. Don't worry. Ryan won't find out. Amanda's got our backs." Amanda. My suspicion had been right all along. I scrolled further, my eyes stinging. There were photos, blurry, dimly lit shots from what looked like a hotel room. A man's arm draped across Emily's shoulder. Emily's smile wide, her hair messy, her eyes shining in a way they hadn't in months. It felt like a knife twisting inside me. The woman I had built a life with, the one I trusted more than anyone, was sending late-night declarations of love to someone else. I wanted to throw the phone against the wall, to smash it into pieces. Instead, I placed it back exactly as I'd found it, then walked into the bathroom, where the sound of running water masked the chaos in my head. I leaned against the sink, staring at myself in the mirror. My reflection looked foreign, eyes red, jaw clenched, veins standing out along my temples. This was the face of a man whose world had just collapsed. I didn't confront Emily right away. Not because I was afraid, but because I needed more. If she was truly cheating, and every message suggested she was, I couldn't let her worm her way out with excuses. I needed undeniable proof. The husband uncovers incriminating messages and photos on Emily's phone, confirming the affair. This pivots suspicions to undeniable truth, highlighting technology's role in revealing betrayal and the ethical tension between privacy invasion and truth-seeking, deepening the emotional turmoil. That night, I pretended to sleep early. Emily lay beside me scrolling through her phone, unaware that I was watching through barely open eyes. At one point, she smiled faintly at whatever she was reading. My chest ached, knowing that smile wasn't for me. When she finally drifted off, I carefully slipped the phone from her hand. My heart pounded as I dug deeper into the evidence. This time, I checked her social media. Hidden among the normal posts were private messages exchanged with Amanda. "Cover for me if Ryan asks. You're a lifesaver. He's too suspicious lately. Don't mention Zach. Please." It was all there in black and white. Lies upon lies. Betrayal stacked on betrayal. Still, I needed to know more about Zach himself. Who was he? What did he look like? What was his hold on my wife? I opened her photo gallery and searched recent albums. That's where I found them, shots of a man I didn't recognize. Tall, muscular, with dark hair and a cocky smile. Photos from bars, selfies in mirrors, pictures of hotel rooms. Some included Emily, others didn't. But the implication was undeniable. My blood boiled. Emily stirred in her sleep, and I quickly locked the phone, sliding it back onto the nightstand. I lay there staring at the ceiling until dawn, my mind buzzing like a hive of angry bees. The next day, I couldn't keep it inside anymore. When Emily walked into the kitchen, cheerful as ever, I slammed her phone down on the table. She froze, her smile vanishing. "Ryan, what are you?" "Who's Zach?" I demanded, my voice low, trembling with rage. Her face drained of color. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. I pushed the phone toward her. "Don't bother lying. I saw everything. The messages. The photos. Amanda covering for you." Her eyes filled with tears, but I felt no sympathy. "Ryan, please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "It's not what it looks like." I laughed bitterly. "Not what it looks like? So you're not sneaking around with some guy behind my back? Those pictures were fake?" Those words meant nothing. She shook her head frantically. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I was lonely. I felt like we were drifting apart. And Zach, he was there." Her excuses sliced through me, each word another wound. "You could have talked to me," I snapped. "We could have fixed things. But instead, you chose to betray me. To lie. To make me doubt my own sanity while you ran off with him." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she reached for me, but I stepped back. "Don't," I said coldly. "You've already taken enough from me. You don't get to touch me, not anymore." Emily collapsed into the chair, sobbing into her hands. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a strange sense of clarity. The truth was finally out. And now, there was no going back. Emily's sobs filled the kitchen, muffled by her trembling hands. I stood across the room, gripping the edge of the counter so hard my knuckles turned white. Every part of me wanted to scream, to demand more answers, to make her feel even a fraction of the pain I felt. But instead, I just stood there in cold silence, watching her unravel. Finally, when her sobs subsided into shaky breaths, she looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. "Ryan, I love you. I made a mistake. Please, we can fix this." Her words might have meant something once, but now they were hollow. I had seen the proof, photos, messages, lies that stretched back weeks, maybe months. Fixing it wasn't possible. Trust wasn't something you could take back together like a broken vase. "You didn't just make a mistake," I said evenly. "You made a choice. Over and over again. Every time you texted him, every time you met him, every time you lied to me. That wasn't an accident. That was betrayal." Emily flinched as if I'd slapped her. She tried to protest, but I turned away, grabbing my jacket. "Where are you going?" she asked, panic in her voice. "Out," I said flatly. "I can't look at you right now." I drove without destination, the night air cool against my face through the open window. My hand shook on the steering wheel, not from fear but from fury. I needed someone to talk to, someone who would tell me I wasn't crazy, that what I had discovered was real. So, I called Mark. Mark had been my closest friend since college. We'd seen each other through breakups, job losses, and countless nights of cheap beer and bad decisions. If there was anyone who could keep me grounded, it was him. He answered on the second ring. "Ryan? What's up, man? You sound off." "I need to see you," I said, my voice tight. "Now." When I arrived at his apartment, Mark already had 2 beers waiting on the table. He took one look at me and didn't bother with small talk. "What happened?" I sat heavily on the couch, running my hands over my face. "It's Emily. She's been cheating." Mark leaned back, exhaling sharply. "Damn. Are you sure?" I pulled out my phone, scrolling through the photos I'd copied from Emily's gallery before leaving the house. I shoved the screen toward him. He winced as he looked. "Yeah, that's not something you can explain away." The room went quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. I stared at the floor, my thoughts swirling. I don't know what to do, Mark. Part of me wants to confront her, throw her out tight. Another part of me wants to burn it all down, scream at her, at Amanda, at this Zach guy. But then there's this small, pathetic part of me that wonders if I should give her another chance. Mark put a hand on my shoulder. Listen, man. You've always been the calm one, the level-headed guy. Don't let this turn you into someone you're not. If you're gone, end it with dignity. But don't let her talk you into forgiving something unforgivable. She knew what she was doing. I nodded slowly. His words made sense. Revenge wouldn't fix anything. Rage wouldn't heal me. What I needed was clarity and evidence. Because when this ended, I didn't want there to be any doubt. Not for me, not for her, not for anyone. The next few days, I played the part of a dutiful husband. I went to work, came home, ate dinner with Emily, and even made small talk. On the surface, we looked normal. But beneath the calm exterior, I was observing, gathering, collecting. Every time she left the room, I checked her phone. Screenshots of messages. Times. Dates. Places. She was careful, but not careful enough. I built a file of evidence so detailed it could have been presented in court. And in a way, that's exactly what I planned, the trial. One evening, Emily told me she was going to Amanda's again. She dressed up, not quite as dramatically as before, but enough to stir my suspicion. After she left, I got in my car and followed from a distance. My heart pounded as her taillights glowed ahead of me, leading me not to Amanda's house but to a hotel on the edge of town. I parked across the street, my stomach in knots, and watched her walk inside. Minutes later, a tall man emerged from the lobby and met her with a grin. Zach. I recognized him from the photos. He leaned down, kissed her quickly, and the two disappeared through the glass doors together. There it was. The final nail in the coffin. I didn't storm in. I didn't cause a scene. I sat there in the car, gripping the steering wheel, memorizing every detail of the moment. My anger simmered, but I forced myself to stay calm. Rage would only give them power. Instead, I took photos. I recorded video. I documented everything. By the time Emily came home hours later, I was waiting in the living room with my laptop open. The evidence sat neatly in a folder, organized and irrefutable. She walked through the door, startled to see me awake. Hey, she said cautiously, setting down her purse. You're up late again. Sit down, I said, my tone cold. Confusion flickered across her face, but she obeyed. I turned the laptop toward her and hit play. The video showed her walking into the hotel, Zach meeting her, their kiss under the neon glow of the entrance. Emily gasped, covering her mouth. Tears welled in her eyes instantly. Ryan, please. I can explain. Don't, I cut her off. Don't insult me with another lie. Her shoulders crumpled. She broke down, sobbing, the same way she had before. But this time, I felt nothing. No pity. No pain. Just a cold certainty. You've been lying to me for weeks, I said, my voice steady. Maybe longer. I gave you everything, my trust, my love, my loyalty. And you threw it away for him. For this. Ryan, I'm sorry, she whispered. I never wanted to hurt you. Then why did you? I asked sharply. Why didn't you stop? One mistake, maybe. But this? This was a relationship. A secret life. And you let Amanda help you cover it up. Her sobs grew louder, her words desperate, but I didn't waver. It's over, Emily, I said finally. Pack your things. You're leaving. Her head snapped up, shock written across her face. What? Ryan, please. No more chances. No more lies. I deserve better than this. I deserve better than you. For the first time since I discovered the truth, I felt strong. Emily wasn't my wife anymore. She was just the stranger who had torn my world apart. And I was finally ready to let her go. Here, the husband confronts Emily with irrefutable evidence, video and photos, leading to her breakdown. This shifts power dynamics, with the husband showing composed strength and growth, while illustrating grief stages like denial and bargaining, underscoring betrayal's irreversible damage to the marriage. Emily didn't leave right away. She begged. She cried. She promised she would end things with Zach, cut ties with Amanda, go to therapy, whatever it would take. Her tears fell like rain on stone, constant, but unable to erode the wall I had built inside myself. I'd already heard enough lies. I wasn't going to let her words trick me again. By the next morning, her bags were packed. She stood by the door, her eyes swollen, her shoulders sagging under the weight of regret. For a moment, I saw the woman I had once fallen in love with, the laughter, the warmth, the dreams we had shared. But that woman was gone, replaced by someone I couldn't recognize anymore. "I'm sorry," she whispered one last time. I didn't respond. I simply opened the door. And just like that, she was gone. The house felt empty in a way I hadn't expected. Not just physically, though the silence was heavy, but emotionally, spiritually. It was as if her presence had lingered in the walls, and now that it was gone, I was left standing in ruins. The first week was brutal. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. Every room reminded me of her. The couch where we'd watched movies. The kitchen where we'd cooked together. The bedroom where we'd once whispered dreams late into the night. All of it poisoned by the memory of what she'd done. But pain, I discovered, has a strange way of sharpening you. By the second week, I forced myself into a routine. Wake up early. Go to work. Hit the gym. Eat clean. Sleep. Repeat. The structure kept me from spiraling. With every pound lifted, every drop of sweat, I felt a little stronger, a little less like the broken man she had left behind. Mark checked in often. So did my family. At first, I resisted their kindness, ashamed of what had happened. But gradually, I realized I needed it. I wasn't meant to carry this weight alone. One evening, Mark and I sat on his balcony with beers in hand, watching the sun set over the city skyline. "You know," he said, taking a sip, "you're handling this better than I expected." I laughed bitterly. "Better? I feel like I've been hit by a train." "Yeah, but you're still standing," he pointed out. "Most guys would have lost their minds. You stayed calm. You handled it with dignity. That's strength, man." I nodded slowly, letting his words sink in. Maybe he was right. Maybe the fact that I hadn't let myself be consumed by rage meant something. I looked out at the fading light and, for the first time in weeks, felt a flicker of peace. Emily tried contacting me a few times after she left. Calls, texts, even emails. At first, I ignored them. Then I blocked her number altogether. The messages that slipped through before the block followed a predictable pattern: apologies, declarations of love, promises to change. Then came the anger, accusations that I was heartless, that I was throwing away our marriage too easily. Finally, silence. I thought that would be the end of it. But a month later, word reached me through mutual friends: Emily and Zach were over. Their fling had burned out as quickly as it began. Apparently, he wasn't interested in commitment. He'd gotten what he wanted and moved on. A part of me felt vindicated, but mostly, I felt nothing. Her downfall wasn't my victory. It was just the inevitable consequence of her choices. As the weeks turned into months, the pain dulled. It didn't vanish. I still had nights where memories hit me like waves, dragging me under, but I learned how to swim through them instead of drowning. The gym became my sanctuary. Every time I stepped onto the weight floor, I wasn't just building muscle, I was reclaiming myself. Friends began to notice the change. Stronger. Leaner. More confident. At work, my focus sharpened. Projects I had once dragged my feet on now flowed easily. My boss praised my dedication, and for the first time in years, I felt proud of what I was doing. It was as if Emily's betrayal had stripped me down to nothing, but in that emptiness, I found the freedom to rebuild from the ground up. One Saturday evening, I sat on the porch with a cold beer in hand, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The sky was painted in strokes of orange and purple, the air cool and calm. I thought about Emily. About everything we had been, everything we had lost. And then, I thought about myself, who I had become through all of it. For so long, I had defined myself by us. By being her husband, her partner, her protector. But now, for the first time in years, I was just me. And that was enough. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. A text from Mark, "Game tonight. You in?" I smiled faintly, typed back "on my way," and stood up. As I stepped off the porch, I realized something profound. Sometimes you have to lose everything you thought you needed to discover what you were truly capable of. And though the scars of betrayal would always remain, they no longer defined me. I was free. In this final, the husband rebuilds through routine, gym, and support, transforming pain into strength. This contrasts early vulnerability, emphasizing resilience and self-rediscovery, showing betrayal as a catalyst for positive change.